Hey guys, Candy here. So, it's been a while. Sorry about that. The more mobile my daughter gets, and because of that, the more clingy my son gets, my videos really have slowed down a bunch. I wasn't sure what my next one would be, honestly. First, I thought I'd show how I made one of my more elaborate bases, but Then I thought I'd show a commission I did, but nah. Finally, I decided to show an elaborate base with a doll attached, so here we are. Today I'm making Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Let's get started. So, I went into the framing for this relatively blind. I wanted to do whatever I could to not make the base 10 pounds, so I decided to make a frame using aluminum foil. I never planned these things, so I just jumped into it head first and hoped the shape would work out. Once I had the aluminum base, I just start slapping on 2-part epoxy clay. Right now, all I want is to cover the aluminum. It's really so flimsy right now, but once the clay dries, it'll be hard as a rock. I also want to work quickly here, as I want to start shaping the rock before the base dries. No reason to add another layer of clay for details if I don't need to. Almost there. Okay, clay applied, except for that one spot on the inner part of the rock. I was too scared to try filling in that at this point. It's still really flimsy. I also jumped into this knowing nothing of rock formations underwater, so I hope it looks correct enough. I just knew it should have a roughness to it, so this kind of thing is easy to sculpt because you can allow edges to be rough and shapes to be random. My god, it's so unstable. Okay, on to the coral. I actually did some Googling for this one. There's so many different types, it was a bit overwhelming, really. I just kind of went with the ones that would look good together as a group, if that makes any sense. So I used epoxy clay for some of this, but I also used molds and polymer clay for things like seashells. Just toss them in the microwave oven for like 3 minutes and they're ready to go. On top of the rock, I wanted a pink coral type thingy, like what's in the movie. There wasn't much to it really, I just applied some epoxy and started poking at it with this tool dealie I have. Okay, while all that is drying, I decide to get to work on Ariel's fin. I hacked off the lower part of her legs and used wire and wrapped it in the shape I wanted using aluminum foil. Then I started applying a layer of epoxy. I'm not too particular about the smoothness at this point because I can always sand it down later. So I forgot to record the last bit of coral adding / making. Some are done with epoxy and some with polymer. You can probably tell with the base colors here, but once everything gets dried and I get to painting, you won't be able to tell the difference. I'm not sure how I want the main rock to look colored just yet, so I start with a dark brown as a base color and plan to build up from there. After that mostly dries, I go in using a dry brushing technique. That's when I put the teensiest bit of paint on my brush and try to hit the higher parts of the rock to make them stand out more. It looks kind of one note at this point, so I eventually add a little bit of green to make it more interesting. This looks weird, I'm sure, but I take a very watered down color, slop it on the rock, and smear it with my finger. I guess it's a type of wet shading? I'm just trying to build up color, and by God, I'm gonna do it however the way I want. For the coral on top of the rock, I put in a darker base color and then dry brush a lighter shade once that dries. I then get to work on the coral. I want to make this part as colorful as I can to contrast with the dull-looking rock. It's getting there. Okay, so I thought I had sand somewhere, but I couldn't find it, so I decided to improvise. I had this dead grass texture used for Warhammer bases. It's the right color, so I just applied it and then covered it in Mod Podge to flatten it down to the base. There! Once the colors are the way I want them, or in this case, once I can no longer work on this because if I keep trying to perfect it, it'll never end, I smother the entire piece in gloss Mod Podge to make it look wet and seal in all the paint. Now on to the fin. This is my first time using the colored aluminum foil stuff. I don't know what it's called. But, and it would appear I absolutely failed at recording my process, so I suggest going to Maria Lazar's channel and watching her mermaid video for a much more professional look at how to do this. I followed her instructions, and I guess it's not too bad for a first try. After attaching it to the tail using super glue and epoxy, I add sparkles because, damn it, I want this Ariel to be covered in sparkles. Speaking of sparkles, after applying a boring green base coat to her tail, I thought, well, that just looks dull, so let's add some shine. So using even more gloss Mod Podge and some colored pearl powder, I slather my brush into one and then the other to give Ariel's tail a nice sparkly look. The Mod Podge will dry clear, so it'll look better, I promise. After that mostly dries, I add some bigger sparkles to her midsection to make the color transition a little smoother. For her seashell bra thingy, I used more of my shell molds and polymer clay. I made the shell, then pressed it around her boob to give it the right shape, and then I baked it for like 3 minutes in my toaster oven, and then I reapplied them to said boob with super glue. The last part was painting them the classic purple, and then adding way too much glitter to her torso. With that, the body's done. Now for the face up. After spraying 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, I just start penciling in the eyes and lips. I use a lighter shade to start and build up the pencils as the face starts coming together. You want to remember to spray with Mr. Super Clear after you're happy with your progress to seal it all in. This will also help build saturation. After the line work is how I like it, I get to contouring with pencils. Lots of pinks and light browns for her. I really want to keep her face up clean and light. Adding the black to her eyes is always so satisfying. It really starts making things pop. Oh yeah, and you might have noticed my new pretty nails are gone. Well, I wanted my hands to look nice for this video, so I got them done. I apparently forgot that I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I only got a good week out of them before they started falling off. I'm super bummed, man. They looked really nice. Anywho, once I have the eyes mostly done, I go in with acrylic and paint her lips in with a nice bright red. And finally, I take some white acrylic to her eyes to, give them more of a pop. Before adding her eyelashes, I decided to add some more of that glitter to her cheeks, to match the face more with the body. I'm sorry, this is mostly out of focus. So I add her lashes, as per usual. I dab some super glue on and apply them a little at a time. Fortunately, super glue dries fast. After that, I added gloss to her eyes and lips, but it would appear I never pressed record on that part, so just take my word for it. Okay, now it's time to reveal why I decided to make an Ariel doll in the first place. Just because of this die I bought. I got it for my future Queen of Hearts doll, and when I got it I thought, this reminds me a little bit of Ariel, and that is honestly the only reason why I made this doll. After dyeing it, I get to applying it directly to her head using Mod Podge. I start at the bottom and work my way up from there. Once the hair is glued up to the top, I make 2 wefts, and one by one I take each side and glue the weft on in the opposite direction so that when it dries I can fold it over and make a part. Ariel's awesome bangs are really hard to replicate, but I tried by pulling some hair back behind her ear. After that's styled, I give the ends a little trim with an eyebrow razor, and honestly, I think she's done. I really enjoy projects like this because they really help me hone my skills with epoxy. It was a lot of work, but I hope you guys think the results are worth it. I think she turned out really pretty. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see everyone next time.